Hello, gorgeous ladies. Welcome to day 2 of our free self care challenge. Today, we're gonna be chatting with Nisha Ryan, and I'm so excited because, okay, I have to figure this out. Because she is literally the OG member of this community, of Community Be Happy Now, so I'm super excited. I just realized that since I'm doing it on my phone, I have to have it sideways, so I might need to figure out a better place. But let me invite her. I wonder how do I do that? And okay, there you go. I see the invitation. I hope it's working. And it says adding. Also, I wanted to add some people who can watch with us, which, okay, it didn't seem to work. So just bear with us. If you are here and you're watching live, just tell me how's your Monday so far.
Hey.
I am totally rocking this rope. Hey, awesome, you're here.
I pressed accept like 3 times. I was like, let me in.
That's so funny. Okay, I just realized how low this is, so I am just going to figure out a way how I can hold this or put it somewhere. But good morning, gorgeous.
Good morning. Thank you for waking up early for me.
Of course. So just for you guys who don't know, Nisha is incredible, but also incredibly busy, and me too. So we found this only window in our entire week to do this. So it's 8 a.m. here in Seattle, which is totally fine, but instead of me brushing my hair and getting all cleaned up, I did meditation for an hour. So
Your hair looks
okay.
like super dark, by the way. Like, did you dye it again?
No, I think it's the filter. I wanted some sparkles, but somehow the sparkles are not working on you, so now I feel awkward, but never mind. Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know you, I just said that you are like the OG member of this community. I didn't get any
I heard that.
further.
Yeah.
So yes. So if you could tell the people who never seen you who you are, what do you do, stuff like that. I'll turn off the filters so I'm not sparkling, and there you go.
Well, if I knew how to turn on mine, I would. But oh yeah, now your hair is like, yeah,
That's
that's
okay.
the color. I was like, what happened? Yeah, hi everybody. If you don't know me, I'm Nisha. I am the OG member of this group. That is true. I call myself the Aligned Pretzel, and I am an orgasmic business and life coach. I am a virtual assistant. I am a 200-hour certified yoga instructor. Hence why we had so much trouble to make this mesh this week. So basically, I work with people on all of those fronts, really, to create a life and business that they love using orgasmic energy. And I'm sure we'll get into what that is if you're like, what is that?
Yep. Also, I'm just really happy that you're here and that we did find the space. I was trying to post in the event that we are here, but people will see it, and if not, we'll send them the replay. So that's that. Okay, so I think what I was curious at first when I met you was, what does it then? Yeah, the first question is, what does it even mean for you, the whole like orgasmic energy and orgasmic, pleasure and all of that? Like, what does it even mean to you?
Right. So orgasmic energy is, and this like orgasmic state of being, having an orgasmic life, however you want to kind of phrase it, is really about that time in your life where you feel like, and you can tap into this anytime, but I'm sure you can take yourself back to a time in your life where you felt like everything was just working out in your favor really well. and like you were just kind of firing on all angles, and everything just seemed to be like aligning perfectly without you even really trying. And that's what orgasmic energy feels like, but it's like that all the time. So it's a state of unity
Mm-hmm.
of body, mind, and spirit, all working cohesively towards one goal, one intention, one outcome, perhaps, and just working for you. And they're all working like in alignment, right? So it's this super space where you are not only super magnetic, but so you're just like attracting everything you want, like all the time. But also, there's just all these other
Mm-hmm.
opportunities that come up for you that you're just like, where did that even come from? And you just feel really amazing
Mm-hmm.
in general. So it's this like state of being a super manifester, a super attractor, feeling really sexy and amazing in your body, and just like being able to like say, I want that basically. I want that house over there, and it becoming yours, right? But it's not about
Mm-hmm.
just the physical realm. It's about body, mind, spirit, and all of that coming together for that one cohesive unit. Does that kind of make sense?
I think it does for me, but if someone maybe had a question, okay, but like I imagine the word orgasmic and pleasure only in the sexual sense. So how does that maybe relate to it? Or like why is it even related? Because I feel like sometimes we don't realize how much this part is, projecting into all of these areas that you just mentioned in our lives.
Yeah. So truly, we have been grown up and raised to believe that like orgasmic equals something sexual, right? When in
Mm-hmm.
fact, the purest form of that is that energy. And it's like this is pure happiness where you're like, you just get goosebumps because your life is so good. It actually doesn't have anything to do with sex. It has to do with you tapping into that energy where you are just like, it's the energy of orgasm, but it's the energy of creation. And it's the energy of just like, oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
how is life this good? And so it's a lot of deprogramming that orgasmic or pleasure, especially, does not equal sex, does not equal intercourse or, some sexy photo shoot or something like that. So it's a lot of deprogramming of like, yes, things can be in the same realm, but not lead to the same thing, right? So you can have an orgasmic life, have nothing to do with being intimate, but also have that same mirrored energy and effect in your sex life too.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Yes, you can be turned on by things and like your life even without having that sexual and intimate thing going on.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Lost
was
the
a lot of
word. Yeah,
deprogramming
I
for me.
love that.
Yeah. Yeah, I grew up in a
Yeah.
very
So,
Christian household, and it was very much like reeling it back and coming back to like, but what is that pure element of like pleasure when you take away the
mhm.
notion of it? It has to be included with intimacy, right? What does that purest form
Yeah.
feel like?
Mhm. So where did it come to you from? Like how did you even get into this whole thing? Because, it's pretty unique, I would say.
um, I don't even know how this happened. Like I said, well, it's just been a whole journey. What can I say? Like I said, I, was raised in a very Christian household, and these kinds of things weren't talked about, much less okay in any terms.
Mhm.
Um, and I know a lot of people resonate with that. And I think it started out as when I was a nurse, I was in the operating room for women's health. So everything gynecology and
Mhm.
obstetrics, that was my specialty. So I was already uh, really, I guess, supposed to all these kinds of elements, even as a
Mhm.
nurse, even as a very black and white operating room, fix this thing. So I think that's probably where it was rooted in. But then eventually I went to go get my yoga teacher certification, and we talk about Kundalini rising. And it just like, as I
Mhm.
moved more into the online space, it just grew and grew and grew. And it was something that I just started just as a masculine and feminine energy balance, and I just always had this like insatiable appetite for pleasure, right? Like for
Mm-hmm.
everything in my life. And I really like shut that down and be like, because that's bad, because that's what I was told, it was horrible. And once I allowed myself to be free and really explored that, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm not the only person like this. And
Yeah.
we've been so suppressed like for so long. And I was like, wait a minute, this isn't normal to just be like, have this appetite just like suppressed, right? In all the aspects of your
Yeah.
life. And I think it just like, why can't life just be orgasmic all the time? And it was just
Mm-hmm.
really like accepting what I felt, and then going through with emotions. I mean, last year when I did my course, Find Your Pleasure Flow, I didn't expect that it would really like catapult me into um, this kind of like pleasure princess figure. Um, but it did. But all I wanted was, I wanted women who bought my yoni eggs. They wanted to know what else to do with them besides like just put it in or just have a bath. They wanted to know how to bring it deeper, and that's why I made that. And it just kind of really just catapulted me into like the pleasure princess, orgasmic queen.
Yeah. Yeah, so okay, I need to pause you because I already see two questions that I need to ask. Well, first
Oh,
of them is because I feel like some people don't know what a yoni egg is
yes.
and like what, what is it for?
Right. I totally don't mean to bring them up. I'm sorry. I'm like,
I mentioned that in the email that I was sending, so actually good that you did. Oh,
You
sorry.
did. And that was like such a good bio. I was like, oh my God, I need to rip this. Put this on my website. I think our friends should write our bios because they're so much better than what we can do. So yes, to reel myself back a little bit, yoni eggs are egg-shaped crystals. So it's just like a crystal like rose quartz or jade or clear quartz, like they come in amethyst, all kinds of things, but it's just like the same crystal that you would be able to get at maybe your
Mm-hmm.
metaphysical shop. But instead, this crystal is polished and cleansed on the outside, so it's completely smooth. And it has to be a harder stone for it to be a legit yoni egg, and it goes in the inside of the vagina. And we do that because the metaphysical properties, I wish I had one on this desk right now and I don't, shockingly,
That's okay.
having the metaphysical properties literally enter your body as so much, and especially a place that's so vascular, really allows it to absorb and infuse. But more than that, when you enter it into your sacred space, you're embarking on this huge healing journey. And personally, the first time I put one in, I just felt like this huge release of pent up energy, and a lot
Mm-hmm.
of just harm in past lives, and in my own life. And so that's what they're for. They have lots of many effects. They're mostly known for strengthening the vagina for Kegel exercises, that kind of thing. Because Gwyneth
Mm-hmm.
Paltrow made them popular, I guess. But so
Nice.
that's what they are, and they can be used in lots of ways. But that's the basis of what they are.
Mm-hmm. Love that. Yeah, thank you for explaining that. So, and then the second question that I had was actually, because pleasure and the whole orgasmic and all of that, I was like, oh, we'll see how people, react to this. Ahoy, Bercho. I see Veronica popping up, and I'm like speaking in Czech to her already. Never mind. So I see so many people, and like I heard that voice from my grandma for so many years that like obviously like, oh yeah, you can be friends with boys, but just there is a limit. Don't like get too close. And then actually on our official wedding day, my grandma came to me and asked me how was the wedding night, and I was like, oh my god, like I was so surprised because like the wedding for her was like, okay, now I can say that, which I was like, well, grandma, that ship, you know long gone and stuff, but okay. But what is your opinion on not talking about sexuality without feeling awkward and without like feeling like it's something bad. Like, what is your opinion on that? What do you think? I know there's so many questions, but like, what do you think is not talking about sexuality causing, maybe, or like, what do you think is the best approach in your own eyes? Do the whole thing.
Well, I think firstly, we need to distinguish between sexuality and sensuality in our modern culture
Mm-hmm.
because they're not the same.
Yeah.
And I think, of course, for kids, it can be really awkward when your parents come to you at 10 or 12 years old and are like, let's have a sex talk. And you've never talked about it before. And it's like this taboo thing that like we don't talk about. And it's just kind of seen as like, oh, no, like that's not something I want to know about. Um, so, of course, it feels really like awkward when that's never your norm. Right. And that was
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever had to talk about sex, to be honest, like other than like that's what school's for. Go over there, go to sex education. Um, but I think to address the whole thing is talking about sensuality first and how that's different and why that's okay to be sensual with your own body. And then it wouldn't be so
Mm-hmm.
awkward to trickle down into sexuality when it comes to another being because the whole point is we're so freaking uncomfortable when we're teenagers is because we're not actually comfortable with ourselves and we've never been told that
Yep.
it's okay to explore ourselves or to like be wanted or to want
Mm-hmm.
somebody else, right? So I think the best thing is more acceptance, more talk about it from a younger age, first of all. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but in the sense of like, this is so natural. Like, of course you have this. Not
Yeah.
like my upbringing is like masturbation is a sin and therefore like you are going to like go to hell, right? Like that's my
Yep.
extreme. And there's still a lot of that that kind of exists. And I think having true mentors from a young age would really benefit a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people because you don't always want to talk to your mom about what's going on in your life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that kind of answer it?
Yeah. I don't think I've ever. It does, and I never had that kind of talk with my mom, so like that was really awkward. I never had that sex talk. I just knew what to do. Like I was like, with my cousins and just awkwardly, sometimes heard here and there things, and then I was like Googling things because I am curious and I always been curious about all the areas of life. But I did feel very guilty that I was curious about that, and I feel it created so many blocks. And not only in the sexual sense, I feel like it's projecting so much even in the other areas, as you were talking about, like, then when I want to create something amazing, or like I want the, let's say we're right now starting the process of um apartment hunting or condo hunting, whatever. And I'm like, I really want, this place, and I see it in like my visualization, and then, right that next second, I'm like, can I want this? Is this greedy? And it really reminds me of those times when I felt bad about wanting to be, even intimate, whether with myself or with someone else. It was just that like stop sign, like, no, this is bad. If you want this, this is bad. So
Yep.
I don't know if you have anything in that sense, but if you have
I do.
anything to add.
No, I do.
I
So
know.
the whole thing about so this is segueing exactly into like what I knew we were going to talk about. Like I just knew I was in the tub and it was just like, oh.
Love that.
So the whole thing is about when we're talking about receiving, right? Okay. I want to like put this the best way possible, the most like boom, my mind is blown way possible. Things are frozen. Oh, Sarah, I hope they're not frozen for everybody.
No, I think she might be just frozen in Canada.
Legit, it's snowing right now.
Yeah.
So when we talk about receiving, and it doesn't matter how many times I say this, like somebody has to figure this out for themselves. Their receiving is directly linked to their intimacy with themselves and with others. And they'll see that direct link in what they receive in life as an income that or manifestations, that kind of thing. And they'll see it trickle over into their relationships. But I had someone come to me recently. She's like, I know you keep saying this, but now it's just like, whoa. Once they see that in their own lives. So the thing is with pleasure and self-care, this is where this all ties in.
Okay, now I see it frozen. Sarah brought it to us that it got frozen. But yeah. So we'll just wait for a second for Nisha. What comes up?
Sorry. What, we're still here? Well, now I'm upside down. What is happening?
Yeah, we're back.
I'm up. It's upside down on my screen. I don't know why. Okay.
You're good though. I see you in the correct way.
Okay. Somebody tried to call me and it was freezing and it was like pause. And I was like, no, don't call me right now. It's so weird looking at us upside down. Okay, anyway, focus, Nisha. So the whole thing about like pleasure and self-care and all the things and receiving is we can have self-care that is like very surface level. Like I'm gonna go put on a face mask and then walk around the house and it's just on the physical realm. But if we are tuning into what our actual pleasure feels like for us in our bodies in the moment, it allows us to tap into a much deeper level and not have this kind of like, oh, it's self-care Sunday, so now I need to have self-care Sunday, or I'm now stressed out, and it like wards it off because you're such in deep connection with yourself. And why that's tied into receiving and like knowing that it's okay to have like whatever you want is the fact that you are so tapped into your own being and you understand that like your innate pleasure is your birthright, and you start to really be okay in your own pleasure and realize that it's okay to want things, but not only want them, but also have them. Right? So the more that we're in our own pleasure center, whatever that looks like to each individual person, the more that we are okay receiving all of the things, right? And so there's this often disconnect of I desire, but I don't deserve, because we aren't actually tapped in on a soul level, like what we actually want and who we actually are on that deeper level, instead of just and I really loved your email this morning because it wasn't like this not all bubble baths and putting on face masks. Like that is part of it, but yeah, some of it is not comfortable. And for a lot of people, tapping into your own pleasure center is not comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was a little bit ranty, but I hope that kind of
No, I love it. No, I love it. I absolutely love it. And like actually, sharing too much, but tapping into like my own sexuality, and like I'm really focusing even more so on it this year, changed my life. And not only like sexually, like yes, it is great to orgasm, and stuff like that, which I have struggled with that previously in like previous relationships. Like during sexual intercourse, it was impossible. I just thought that I'm one of those people who just doesn't. And just switching that button and being like, hey, like I can't, like I can, it's okay to receive this, it's okay to receive the pleasure. And then like remembering how does it feel in my body, which in different examples, I teach people like, tap into your body and remember how how fear feels like, for example, or like where do you feel it. But with pleasure, it's exactly the same. So just like being in the moment when the pleasure comes, even if it's like just randomly appeared, I would say, like you didn't expect it, like it would happen, and then like remembering how does it feel, and kind of wiring your mind like this is okay, like this is okay, and then having that and like kind of translating that into other areas of my life, changed that, because especially I know that there is a bunch of entrepreneurs, and as you said, like we struggle with receiving, and I feel like sometimes actually going through the pleasure and exploring yourself and being okay with that and embodying and like kind of remembering how does it feel in your body, that helps you, when you reach a goal, let's say in business, and not stressing out like, oh my gosh, this was just random, this just like I don't deserve it, and oh no, they're gonna probably ask for a refund, and like sabotage it basically. And instead being like, no, this is okay. How would you, how would you take that bridge? I know we were talking probably about something different than I originally thought we would, but like how would you take is the relation between, starting maybe with the self pleasure and then learning how to see that in life anywhere else?
I mean, when you spend intentional time in your own self pleasure, and I just kind of want to put like a blanket statement here, self pleasure doesn't always mean like something of a sexual nature. It can. I mean, self pleasure can be as simple as getting under a really hot shower by yourself and just like, oh, like massaging your head, and oh my God, that feels so freaking good. Like, and sounding it out is something I teach all the time, which I don't think I've ever talked about with you before, but because it releases that energy, right? That stuck pent up energy, and allows you to feel more sensual. And so it's not a sexual act, quote unquote, but yet you're getting into that, right? And it's an intentional, and it's in your own body, and that will automatically transfer over into your business, into your relationships, into your personal lives, because you cannot shift this one area and not see the changes and standards change in other areas. So you start an intentional self-pleasure practice, for instance, and suddenly when you have clients coming to you, for example, like wanting you to discount your rates or whatever, you're like, fuck that, I'm not available for that shit. And you're just like, whoa, where did that come from? And you really do not know, but it just like comes from somewhere within you, and you're like, shit, my standards are raising. Huh, okay, let me take my journal and like solidify this to the universe, and I'm no longer available for this. Here's what I am available for. Boom.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. Yeah. And so tapping into that sensuality. So if someone asks, like, what is the difference then between like sensual and sexual? Because I feel like right now, even like on TV, some of like, I don't watch TV because we don't really have TV, but I know that like commercials are getting very more on the sexual rather than the sensual,
Yeah.
But what would you say, like, what is the difference? What does sensual mean for you?
Sensual for me means personal and tapping into my own body, and like it might be like I'm lathering myself with coconut oil, and I'm just like feeling into every single like feeling and emotion and tactile sensation while I'm doing that. Whereas sexual very much to me inclines like I'm intentionally good doing an orgasmic manifestation process, or I am going to self pleasure in the form of like masturbation, or um, this is a very fine line, right? Or having intercourse with somebody else, or whatever it may be. This is a very fine line, because if I talk about yoni eggs, even though that's going into a sexual part of you, quote unquote, or that's what we're told, um, it's a sensual process because it's all about you, right? And I know
Yeah.
it's like so easy to get wrapped up in like your sex life not being what you want it to be. You want your sex life or your sexiness, how you view yourself, to be what you want it to be the way you envision it in your mind. It's about coming to your sensuality first and then letting that trickle over
Mm-hmm.
to sexuality. Like I see this so much that like when people come into my sphere to be coached by me or to come into my courses, they think it's going to be a couple's effort, right? Like they're going to do things together. And there's a time and a place for that, but it's about you first because, and I'm sure Kate, like you will attest to how much that'll just trickle over without you even doing anything different in the relationship.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Because, if everyone takes care of themselves first, that's how we just become full and we don't need that other person. And it's the moment when we don't need that other person that the miracles can happen there. So, what if someone is having just like really, those blogs and those voices from their grandmas or from their, religious families, and it's just like really engraved in them? Like, obviously, you don't have to explain like how to work with limiting beliefs or any of that, but like, what would you say is the best starting point to even start tapping into this?
So most people have, when they come to me, have some sort of idea that being a sexual being is bad. And
Mm-hmm.
even to the point where they don't want to be touched by their own partners. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like they just cringe at the thought of them touching them, especially after childbirth. Um, but where you start with that, it is in the mind, but that's not first, to be honest, because
Mm-hmm.
if you engage in practices and rituals, like I mentioned before, the unity, you bring the mind, body, and spirit together, and that is where the quantum shifts start happening, right? Instead of, okay, I'm going to work on my mindset by journaling, right? Like we're bringing in all of the
Yeah.
things. Like, and I'm not saying that's not important. It totally freaking is. And I'm like the journaling addict, but um, doing a ritual, like my favorite way for getting people to start into this kind of thing is prana, breath work, right? And then moving into
Mm-hmm.
those really small exercises like showering and just feeling your body and sounding it out is the biggest thing because you're going to release so
Mm-hmm.
much pent up um, anger, frustration, energy, beliefs, all the things when you allow yourself to embrace. So it's about embracing these little micro steps, really, in the physical
Mm-hmm.
realm, but then also bringing like the sounding and stuff like that or affirmations into it. So you also bring in that mind, body, spirit, and you have the whole three working in unison in your unity, right? And
Yeah.
for one person, just touching their head might be like so much, right? And for the next person, going out and masturbating is not like a big deal, right? So it's about the small micro
Mm-hmm.
steps where they are to bring onto that like next phase.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Yeah, I was yesterday in the shower and I was washing my hair and I was like, oh, this just feels so good. And then I was shaving my legs and it's just like, these little things.
Mm-hmm.
I seriously, when I started being more aware of the sensual, on like just being really like when I'm there and doing something and like feeling my body and like becoming more aware of just these little things, I feel like it made such a difference, which is so funny because I didn't know you would say this. But I'm like, this is such a huge theme for me, especially like now in January and the beginning of February. So I love that you addressed that. Okay, so is there anything else that is on your mind that you would like to say? Otherwise, I just have probably like two more questions, but I want to give you the space to say something that we didn't address and you feel like it should be here.
I just want to reiterate that it is about like small incremental steps and like like you often say, not judging yourself when like you don't like it or it feels a certain way, or like a lot of body issue comes into play here, and it's about constantly noticing those thoughts. And like it's so easy to just go through the shower and just be like, oh, wash my hair, gotta go. But if you just like bring it back down for a second, be like, oh my God, that actually feels really good. Like, when is the last time you tapped into like all the sensations? Like, I am now at the point where I can tap into just feeling my head so much that I'm just like engulfed in it. Like, it's the only thing that I can think about. And it's like I'm feeling 10,000 people in my head at the same time, because you've come back to that huge mindfulness, right? And it's just like slowing it down. So that's kind of what I want to say, like small incremental steps that can be like done for you, right? In your own time. It doesn't have to take a lot of time or anything like that. And just not judging your process or like where you are compared to someone else's journey and that kind of thing. That's all I really want to say. And if you have questions
Love
about
that. I think that actually answered the question. I'm sorry.
Oh. I said, and if you ever have questions about this, just like hit me up. Like, just send me a message and don't be shy.
Yes, definitely. And like also, you know, all of the people who are watching, well, don't spam Nisha's inbox probably. She's very busy, but you can share the comments, the main questions, especially if you're watching a replay, or maybe, you know, some people might have questions like tomorrow they start tapping into it today, and then tomorrow they're like, oh, wait a minute, what they say. So
Yes.
I'm sure if you guys share the questions here, we're gonna like, if there are questions, I'm gonna make sure that I see them and I send them over to Nisha so your questions get answered. And yeah, my question, like one of the last questions was originally like, what can people do to bring more pleasure into their lives? But I think you just answered it, so I love it. So yeah, go a minute back if you want to know what to do to bring more pleasure, whoever is watching. So that's that. And the second thing is, where can people find you? Where can people hang out with you? Except here, but there are other places.
I mean, come up to Canada and come enjoy the snow. Not actually. I'm the Aligned Pretzel across everything. So my group is the Aligned Pretzel Community, my Instagram page, all the things. Feel free to add me as a friend on Facebook. I'm not at the 5K mark yet, so you can still add me as a friend. But yeah, all the things pretty much on Facebook.
And you have a podcast.
Oh, yeah, shit. I love all the things. The podcast is called The Aligned Pretzel Show. It's on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify, which there's a kick-ass episode of me and Kate on there you definitely have to go check out. It's all about happiness, obviously. And my website, if you kind of just want some like pleasure freebies, or I think there's a Yoni guide and stuff like that, you'd probably want to message me because there's a lot. But my website is www.thealignedpretzel.co.co. So lots of cool stuff on there too.
I love that. Also, I will put the links below somewhere in the video so it's easier to access for people. And because I like podcasts so much, and one of my podcasters that I listen to, they always ask at the end, what can we do, you know, people here or me, to do to support you? Because I really, really appreciate that you took the time to be here and that you know, chatted about these things, which are sometimes very difficult to chat about. And I feel like this could really help people to tap into themselves. So what can we do to support you?
First of all, I love that question. Oh my gosh, that is so good. So you can give, I have a brand new business page up. This is called The Aligned Pretzel, Nisha Ryan. You could give that a like. I would sincerely appreciate that. Or if you're listening to the podcast on whatever platform you're on, if you could, you know, subscribe, leave a little review, that would be really amazing also. And if you ever see anyone who's struggling with this sensuality versus sexuality, orgasmic manifesting, all the things, definitely just pass my name along. That would be amazing.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This was so good. I feel like I'm actually going to jump to the shower again and just be there with my body. Love it. I absolutely love it. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And I am sure we will chat soon.
Yes, thank